Good morning from my final full day here in Tulum. I have arrived at the Tulum ruins. Just got here in a colectivo from my hotel. It was 30 pesos, which is like $1.50, $2 to get here, which was great. No problems at all. And we're just heading up here towards the entrance to go check out the Tulum National Park and ruins. Buenos días, la entrada está aquí.
Entrada todo derecho.
Sí, ok.
¿Tiene un mapa?
Yo tengo.
¿Tiene un mapa?
Sí.
Bienvenido.
Gracias.
Guarde sus boletos. Los boletos le dan descuento para los cenotes.
Ok. Ok. Buenos días. No, yo está bien. La entrada está aquí, ¿no?
Acá tenemos guías acá para saber la historia maya.
Sí.
Good morning. We have a tour guide for the Azteca history
Yep.
for the Maya.
I've been studying for a long time, so I'm good. I have all the information I need. Thank you, Lo.
Welcome.
Have a good day.
Doing a guided tour. If you like to get official guide for the ruins,
No, I'm good. Thank you.
we include your tickets to get in. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna learn. You're gonna enjoy it.
I've been-
We're actually making a really good deal for.
Yeah, no, I've been doing research for a while, so I have got all the information. I'm good. Thank you. So it's always fun when you first come to the ruin sites. Everywhere you go, there's always people trying to sign you up for guides and stuff, which I've heard are good. I don't really need one because I've done enough solo research on my own on these places that I'm always good to kind of wander around at my own speed and hopefully talk about the stuff that's in my head about these places. So anyway, we're just gonna keep walking. It's about 500 meters, I believe, half a kilometer from where I get dropped off to the actual entrance. As you can see, all the way along here, there's lots of, stops, tour shops, that kind of thing, which aren't really necessary, especially going in. If you're gonna buy some stuff, wait till you leave later so you're not dragging it around with you the whole time. So far, it is a decidedly overcast-ish and cooler morning here. I believe it was around 21 degrees Celsius when I get up. So I'm here, it's just about a little bit before 9 o'clock, before it gets too busy. Yeah, let's just keep going and get in, because supposedly a lot of the busier tour groups get here around 10 o'clock. So I'm going to try and get in, before it gets too crazy. So first tip, when you get here and you see that sign, the Tulum sign, you want to hang a right, because the tickets are down this way. It's not well marked, but I believe it's this white building here on the left. And so, as usual, there are multiple fees to get in. There is a park fee, there is the national park fee, and in my case, for the camera, of course, there'll also be a camera ticket as well. I think that's in here. We're gonna go have a look. All right, so you get 2 bracelets, put them on your wrist, keep them on the whole time you're in the park. She said the camera was included in the fee. The total fee was about 420 pesos, which includes both the park fee and the national park fee. And she said the camera is actually included in that price. There's 2 spots there you can pay either with cash or card if you want, whichever one was fine. I had cash on me, so that made it easier. And then double back, you'll see a little entranceway here that's blocked off. They'll check your wristbands, check your bags, and off you go. So when you get here, there are shuttle buses that will take you up to the park. They take about 5 minutes, or you can do what I'm going to do and walk. He said it's about 10 minutes, so I'll say it's probably 15 for me because I'm slow and old, but it's fine. So far so good. Doesn't appear too busy yet. Like I said, that's the benefit of getting here a little bit early if you can, before the heat, before the big tourist buses. Get in and out, no problem. So a few other things obviously to remember to bring when you're coming to Tulum or to any of the sites. Good sunscreen, good bug spray, a good hat, which I have, don't panic, some water, those types of things. Because usually once you get inside the park, and I would say even from here on, there's probably not much in terms of availability for water and stuff like that. So make sure you bring some with you. It actually looks like we're getting pretty close already, so he may have been just about right on with the 10 minutes. Nice walk up here though. Peaceful, lots of greenery. And this early in the day, hardly any people. So I've been told there's two entrances up here. There's a gate number 1, which I think is the one that's directly in front of us. And then there's also a second gate around the left side. And from what I've read, it is the better of the two options in terms of your, initial views and all that sort of stuff. I think it's up closer to the water as well. So we're gonna take a walk up that way. Wasn't even a 10-minute walk. I got it in at about 7 minutes. So if I can do it in 7, just about everybody else can do it in 5. We're just heading up here to the initial entryway, and then we'll find our way over to gate number 2. Just an update, since it's my first time, and it will be your first time if you ever watch this and decide to come here. So there was more to it. So the 2 bracelets were for the National Park and the Park of the Jaguar. There are 2 more tickets you have to pick up. There's a little kiosk just on the right as you come up around that corner, and you have to buy your 2 tickets there. For me, it was 160 additional for the entrance to the actual park, and 100 of that is your entrance ticket, and then the 60, of course, is your video ticket. So 420-ish and 160 in total, so about 600 pesos. To go from the outside to finally gaining access to the park. But we have everything we need, so let's head in. So that's it. No more fees, no more walking. Well, lots of walking, but no more gates to go through. So from here, it's about another 5 minutes or so up the path to get to the main entrance, and then I'm going to try and loop around to the second entrance, I think, first. So it's been pretty rainy here the last few days, so the entrance here may be a little mucky, so just keep that in mind. So here's the first sign about Tulum. It is known to exist between 564 and 1550 AD, originally known as Zama, or daybreak in Mayan. Tulum is believed to be one of the last major cities that was built in the Mayan Empire before the Spanish arrived in the 1520s. I'm just trying to avoid getting my feet too wet this early in the day. So Tulum was a trading post city at its height. I believe there was around 15,000 people that lived here in total. It was actually a walled city, so 3 sides of it, there were large stone walls to protect it from the outside, and then because it faced the ocean and there was a very large cliff, that was sort of the 4th wall of protection, I guess. Tulum was actually one of the first settlements identified by the Spanish explorers. So the first major archaeological work was done here in 1916. That timeline lines up pretty well with some of the other major sites like Chichen Itza that were in the 19-teens when they were first sort of excavated and rediscovered. Just a little guide here that talks about, some of the things to be considerate of when you're at the parks. Things like drones are obviously not allowed unless you have prior authorization, which I'm told is pretty difficult. You know, don't bring pets. Just try and be respectful of any animals you might see, or, you know, the plants and that types of thing. One of the sort of, I guess, core beliefs that I have when traveling is to take only pictures, leave only footprints. And I think that's a good mantra for a lot of people when seeing sites like this to keep in mind. I would say this is probably the way up to entrance number 2, but we're going to go right through this door first, through this wall, which is one of the sort of original style walls over here, and then head around to the left and get around to the outside edge. See, I told you I had a hat. So we're gonna try and get over to this other entrance over here. I think maybe we can get to it up this way, or this might just be a look off. Or it's that way. Who knows? Well, let's go up here first. This viewpoint, however, is pretty great. It gives you a whole view of the entire area. So when you first come in, if you go hard left and come up this set of stairs, it brings you up to this look-off point, which is kind of a stunning place to start, as you've got the ruins over there. And then here, of course, you also have the ocean, which was sort of the fourth wall, if you will. We also have our first building up here, and this was the Casa del Cenote. So you can see inside the building there on the back side, there's actually a set of stairs that go down, and they would have led you down to the underground cenote that was within this building's grounds. So it's in kind of a cool spot here because it's overlooking a lot of the rest of the area, which is kind of nice. But that would have been, you know, sort of like a well-water house, if you want to think of it that way. So continuing to work our way around the outside edge here. There's 3 mini temples here. This was sort of unique to the eastern side of the Mayan Empire, and often things like offerings would be placed inside of these. And then up here on the top of the hill, where it is the windiest of all, of course, is the Temple of the God of Wind, which is probably one of the most famous ruins here. You see it in a lot of photographs. I think once we climb up to the top of that hill up there, we'll also get a really nice view of this beach. Perfect day to be here though. It's a little bit overcast, nice breeze, and being here again fairly early certainly helps with the crowds, although it is 9:30, and I would say that there's definitely a few tour groups that have showed up already. Not too bad. I'm trying to give them space. In my opinion, I often find that these larger tour groups that come to these places, they sort of forget that there's other people here, and they tend to crowd around and, you know, take a million pictures with no regard that, you know, other people may want to get a few as well. It's interesting here at Tulum, one thing that I've noticed is that we are spaced much farther back from the ruins than at other sites that I've been to. It's interesting that, you know, like, you can't climb on any of the ruins anymore in Mexico, which is fine, but here there's even an extra distance where, you know, you're a good 30 to 40 feet in some cases from the front entrances to some of these places. Anyway, let's keep going. So here at Tulum, this is the largest temple, known as El Castillo. It's a huge complex. You can see that there's a main building at the top of the stairs there. Some offshoot buildings on both the left and the right. But much like Chichen Itza and other sites, El Castillo was sort of the prominent, or most prominent building in the city. And at one time, probably about 500 years ago, this would have had brightly colored facades on the front of it, with, you know, things like sculptures and stucco masks and those types of things. And I think we can head up to the left here and go up these stairs and get around to the back side to take a look. So let's go up there. So we've made our way up to the back side of El Castillo, which you can see why this place was chosen. It is probably at least a couple hundred feet straight down from here, so that's like 60-70 meters down to the shore. And I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not, but there's actually a series of breakwaters. Looks like about a kilometer out from the shore, which would have also helped to protect it, because you would need to know exactly how to get in and out of the sort of harbor area that's here. Actually was sort of a early days lighthouse, in that it had two windows at the top of it, and if you were in a boat or a ship and you were coming in to the shore here and you could see the light shine through both those windows, then you knew you were heading in the right direction. If you couldn't, then you needed to navigate around some of the more shallow waters to make sure you got in without getting wrecked. So here's that beach we saw there earlier. We were walking around, and definitely a much nicer view from up here on the top of the hill. And you can also see why it's important to keep ahead of the tour groups, because they pack in fast. What a beautiful spot here though, just up on the hill, and just incredible sights. So this type of building here was kind of a standard style building that would have been housing possibly a soldier and his family, those types of things. So it's known as compound ground and temple number 54. It's a very fancy technical name. But it was, yeah, like a standard example where it would have the main building here, and then up on this little platform here, you can see some stairs, and there would have been a couple of more buildings behind this as part of this larger building. I find it really funny that we're here at, you know, some of the most famous and beautiful ruins really in all of Mexico, and everyone's taking pictures of the beach and the water. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Tell me in the comments if I am being ridiculous or not, but I find it really strange that those are the things that people would take pictures of here. So we're at the far end. Here is another one of the walls that would enclose Tulum. Obviously it falls off right there down to the water. So we'll walk back up this way. Just kind of winding my way down through the jungle here a little bit. The wall is just here, continues all the way down. Just continuing to make my way down the hill here to the bottom half of the ruins. I had read that you probably wouldn't need more than a couple of hours really to explore the whole site, which I would say is probably correct. It's not a huge site in terms of, you know, area. Everything's pretty compact, and the way they have this set up is quite different from a lot of the other places I've been, where you're kind of free to roam anywhere within the archaeological park. Everything here you can see is very structured with dedicated lanes for the most part to guide you around the park. So this grounds here may not look like much, but it was the site where in 1847 an armed uprising against the Spanish started, called the Castes War. So obviously Spanish culture had a caste system, so people would be divided based on their, you know, level or rank within society, and that kind of contradicted a lot of the ways that the Mayan society was run and had been run for hundreds of years. So 1847, the War of the Castes kicks off, and then what ended up happening was that some of the rebels, the fighters against the Spanish, actually settled here in the former ruins of Tulum and remained here until 1901. So for more than 50 years, this was the space that they occupied until the Spanish finally came and took it back at that time. So the rebel capital was not specifically here, but this was one area that they were in, and the Spanish city was known as Carrillo Puerto, which was sort of the rebel capital during the Caste War against the Spanish in the late 1800s. So yeah, kind of a interesting piece of history here, even though it doesn't look like much. It's very significant in terms of the history of the area. Obviously there's nothing left of the area here where the rebels were. It was completely razed to the ground by the Spanish when it was taken back. But it's nice that at least there's a bit of information there about it.
Yeah, I've seen some fashion views. I realize I'm afraid of height in that movie.
So this structure here, you can see has multiple layers to it, some smaller sections. This was actually habitation grounds, or like a house type area for an elite that would have lived here at Tulum at the time. It would have included an altar, living quarters, gardens, and so on. There's actually a map here which you can see of the sort of layout that would have been here at the time. Just made our way back down towards the main section. There's the El Castillo you can see up in the background there for reference. We went up and over and around back down to here. This building here is one of the most significant ones here at Tulum. This is what's known as the Temple of the Frescoes, and the lower level of this building, we're going to take a walk around there in a second as well, has a mural painting on the inside that I believe you can still see bits and pieces of. They're obviously doing some restoration here. You can see trying to, you know, retain some of the walls from, there's some cracks and stuff starting to form, so they're trying to support that as best as possible. The top half, however, of the building is what's really interesting, because if you look closely, and I'm actually going to zoom into this because it's pretty cool, is that there's actually handprints in red ink on the side of the building up there, and then down here right above these openings as well. And you can see there's some very intricate mask carvings along the center line here of the building too. So we're going to go around to the other side here and see if we can get a better look at the mural that's here. It's fascinating though, like even on this mask impression here in the middle of the building, there's still tons of red and green and maybe even some blue pigments that are still decorating some of that mask even today. So I don't think the camera's going to catch any of it, but there is definitely a mural impression on the inside of the building. And then even farther in again, there's an interior room in there that would also have more of that fresco. Just some more examples here though, some of the carvings on the outside of the building. And if you look at it from the side on, you can actually see the whole thing makes a face. So you've got the mouth here, the nose, the eye, and then a mask at the top. Across the street from here, behind the crowd, is another house style structure, and you can sort of see there's a recreation of the thatched roof on the entryway there. This would have been sort of another typical home for, you know, someone higher up within the Tulum society that would have lived here, taking care of temples, those sorts of things. Here's a look here at that House of the Chultun, as it's known here at Tulum. And yeah, so you can see the makeshift, the recreation of the thatched roof, entry columns on the building, different sections in behind as well. You know, obviously on a raised platform here, sort of indicating that it was some sort of dignitary perhaps that would have lived here. So I'm standing a little bit far back here just while that tour group goes through, and we'll get a little bit of a closer look. This is the House of the Halak Uinik, I think is how you say it. I may be wrong on that. So the Halak was basically the high priest, and every city in the Mayan Empire had a high priest or a Halak. And in Tulum here, this is the house that they would have lived in while they were in control. It's very much right in the middle of the city. This is what's known as the central group of buildings as well here. So El Castillo is just sort of sticking up through that window actually. So then you had the high priest's home here. You had the temple with the frescoes. You had a house there. And then all through here, of course, you have many different buildings, which would have just been all in a row here. There's just the foundations that are left at this point. This high priest home is very well preserved, all things considered. You can actually see, and I'll get a close-up picture of it as well, but there's actually a really cool carving right at the top of the entryway underneath that thatched roof, which had a mask on it, which was a symbol of the high priest here in Tulum. This is just around the back side here of the high priest home. You see there's another entryway back here, and there was additional rooms back here. Very prominent up on this very flat top to sort of raise it up above the area. You can see there was gardens here. Probably, I would say these were probably more structures here where these kind of squared off gardens are. This place is absolutely packed, and it is now 20 after 10. So when we came in earlier, we went immediately over to the left, up to the House of the Cenotes, which is up on the top of the hill there. And then we worked our way around the backside and come around the front, which seems to have worked out all right. As far as I can see, there's definitely a tendency to start here in the central group and then work your way around. But the other way, I think, works just as well. So if you're looking to come here, and if you get here early enough, you can kind of come and go the opposite direction a little bit and you get the first half of the park without too many crowds. But at this point, it's like I said, it's now almost 10:30 and it's shoulder to shoulder. Just making our way sort of back almost towards the entrance here again a little bit, and just one more, again, home style building here. So it had the entranceway with the columns, you know, rooms to the back, rooms on the front sides here on top of that, and this is the original entrance we came in earlier. Might see if I can go for a walk up over here, where there's not a lot up there, but it's interesting that there's lots of foundational ruins sort of up there. Well, I was going to go for a walk up this way, but I see it's blocked off here at the front, so there's no way to get up and around. But this whole section up here, there's all kinds of foundations and things up here from old buildings. You can see one here very close with the front stairs, and possibly some sort of raised point there too. But yeah, that is pretty much all of there is to see here at Tulum. Great spot, beautiful buildings. A little disappointed, to be honest, how far away you are able to get to some of the buildings. I know in some other places that I've been able to get up, you know, obviously not able to climb, but as I mentioned earlier, you're at least able to get up very close, sort of to the front of the buildings. And here, everything feels very Disneyfied, for lack of a better term. This is definitely the Disneyland of Mayan ruins. Probably even more so, I would say, than Chichen Itza was. At least Chichen Itza had a bit more ability to kind of wander around open areas. Here feels very structured in terms of where you go and how you go and sort of all that. But the tour groups are just pouring in here at this point. So the 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning time frame to be here before was 100% correct. So I would recommend to you the same thing. If you're going to come here to Tulum, try and get here early. It does open at 8 a.m. So like now it's 10:30 and I'm finished for the day. So at this point I'm going to make my way back out to the front and start heading back down, and I may take a bus back depending if there's one available or not, just for something different. This is what I mean with the tour groups. How on earth do you get past us? So my final pro tip, you can't leave the same way you came in. You actually have to exit out the far end of the park, past all the central square stuff. So I'm just on my way, doubling back here to get to the exit. So just as a reference point, we're back at the area that I was talking about earlier about the caste war here, and the exit is just right here to the left. Watch your head. This is a good spot to whack your head. So when you come out of that entrance, you're actually on the outside of the wall, because here's the wall here from the city. We'll work our way down back to the entrance this way, around the outside. So just to finish off the story about Tulum, by 1542 it was completely abandoned, and the people that lived here didn't all just disappear, of course. They actually moved to cities that were deeper into the forest. So after 1542 they moved to places like Tayasal and other more jungle-based cities to try and hide out from the Spanish and maintain their culture and their history. So for 400 years, essentially, Tulum ended up sitting completely abandoned here on the coast until, as I said, it was initially rediscovered in the 1800s, and then in 1916 the restoration work began to make it what it is today. So we are here at the bottom. I'm just going to walk some of the way back at least. There's trolley cars that come by here fairly frequently. So depending if one comes by here, I may hop on one of those. We'll see what happens. And really it's not that far of a walk anyway, because where we came in after picking up our second ticket and our camera ticket is just right here. So it's only going to be about 5 minutes or so back to the front from here anyway. And so here is a quick shot of that second booth that you come to once you come up the walkway. You pay your 100 peso entry fee to the actual park here, as well as your 60 peso fee for GoPro cameras or whatever you're using. But I will say, this is the first park that I've never been asked for the ticket once I was inside. So that's a win. Anyway, that's going to do it here from Tulum. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a like or a comment below to let me know that you were here. Let me know your thoughts on Tulum and of the city and of the ruins themselves. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I appreciate every single subscription that I get, and I actively try to reply to every comment that I receive as well, so I would really appreciate that. If you'd like to support me further, there are a couple of links in the description below. One to my PayPal, and then also there's a link to my store, which has some products available for sale. And remember, life is short. Wander. I'll see you in the next video.